Welcome Colorado Juggers. Today I'm going to show you how to build a staff. This may also apply to juggers elsewhere in the world, but please note that a lot of the things purchased today are going to be using local references. Foam insulation, a little bit of pool noodle. Make sure you're getting bamboo with a lot of thickness here. You want good heavy walls, a lot of density, no less than an inch thick. Something close to like 3/4 inches would also be alright. Knife, markers, and tape. Some thick and squishy camping pad. 2. Because staffs are 180 centimeters in length, you want to measure with some buffer room for the tip and for the pommel. I usually take it to 170 centimeters snug. You've cut it down. What you want to do is tape the entire length of the bamboo piece. This is really important. All is good to go. You're ready to start taking your secondary measurements. Now, because the topmost striking portion of the staff is going to have 90 centimeters, excuse me, 95 centimeters of striking, and we're leaving a little bit for the top, I will go right to about 88, giving myself a good buffer there of 7 centimeters to make sure that I've got a nice squishy tip on that guy. So I'm going to take that, mark it down. Quick note here, when you are deciding which end that you want as your striking end and which one you want as your handle end, generally speaking, you want the thinner side. It's going to be a little bit lighter to be the striking side, so the center of gravity is closer to where your hand is going to be on this end. Now, it might seem counterintuitive to some of the more experienced Pompfen makers that are going to be watching this, but hear me out. When I first start, I take this foam, it's really super thick stuff, and I wrap it around flush with the tip. We'll add a squishy tip after the fact, so don't worry right now, we're not just going to leave a tip exposed here, but this lets me get the most flush tip out of the camp pad that we're going to be using at the end there in just a moment. This right here, this mark cuts off the end of where we're going to need the foam for the striking surface. So using that as our guideline, I'm going to cut straight all the way around. Tip right here, just as well. You want to make sure it is as flush as you can get it. You want that about level so that we can stick our tip on and have plenty of room for safety. All right. Once you've got this all situated, you undo the tape on both sides, peel it down, and as you do so, you want to apply a good deal of pressure here. Alright, cool. If you did it right, you'll have a nice, even foam coating all the way down the length of your Pompfen. So even though you've got a bit of a gap here, even though it's not completely straight, the foam itself here will hold pretty well. The sticky never gets hard, so you don't have to worry about like glue or anything striking somebody. It remains nice and soft even in the cold. So there you go. You've got the first element of your staff right there, ready to rock. Now, the next part, this stuff, the camp pad. I usually get this from local Ross. You can also get it from Target, Walmart, things of that nature. Very simple. What you want to do is find a can, right? That's the same size as your tip. You want it to be as close as you can get it. The cans you use to cut holes in this foam just so that they're the exact circle of the tip of your Pompfen. You'll see in a second. Going up with 7 good-sized circles. What you're going to be using these for is, because they're about 1 centimeter thick each, you want 7 of them. You'll stack them up all the way, attach them to the tip. I'll show you in just a second here. And it'll give you a nice, durable, extra soft stabbing tip that's legal in everywhere that I've ever taken the staff in the world. It holds up really well. Maybe replace it once a season at most. It's fantastic stuff. now that you got your foam circles, the easiest way I found to get these on there is to attach them gently and then attach the whole thing as a unit. So alright, nice. You've got your nice solid, super safe tip there. Generally what I'll do is I will take this top part, keep the second part handy. You'll tape this to this, also gently, just like we did before. And that's really just a temporary hold so that it'll stay in place while you're attaching the entire thing together how you need it to hold. What you're going to do is go down generally where your seam is. That's the best place because you want extra reinforcement there. Take the tape, lay it laterally, put it right on up there. Make sure that you don't get this number. Push them down nice and snug. The first piece of tape up and over the top. Want to make sure that's done really, really well. You want as much adhesion as possible on there. Just keep these guys where you want them. And back down the other side. Real gentle, doesn't have to go too far since we'll do the entire tip and another layer in a second here. So make sure that's all stuck all the way around. Take this guy, nice and snug. There you go, good to go. Do the same thing 2 more times. Excellent. Now, so your tip is good to go. Now all this right here, generally speaking, the weakness is going to be with this foam meets this foam. So what we're going to do is do 1 more layer of tape around the side. Now this tape is really important, this the bidirectional filament tape. What it does is, unlike duct tape, it doesn't have almost any give or any stretch. So if we put pressure here, it distributes pressure in the areas around wherever force is applied. So for something like Jugger, it's great because if you strike somebody with this point, all the foam right here works together to take the impact. So what this tape does is it spreads the impact from this weakness right here to the surrounding areas, keeping all of this foam in about equal degradation. So as it fails, it will fail as a unit, giving it lots of life because you have a lot of squishing here that has to fail before it will eventually give. Now the tip is complete. Now a quick note on this one is that in Colorado, because we do play in the colder months, sometimes through the snow, you don't want a tape that's so hard that it stings when it hits you. This tape, thankfully, even though the tape itself is very rigid, the foam is very soft and will give you a nice, gentle impact even under freezing conditions. The next step is you want to tape the entire striking surface in this with layers, and you generally want to have as little overlap as possible. Like this is even just a little bit too much. I'll show you what I mean. Now the striking surface is 100% ready to go. We'll pass an inspection just like this. Doesn't look pretty, definitely recommend a cover. Duct tape would work fine, or for less weight, any number of fabrics that are good and reusable, especially in team colors, can look very sharp. Now this right here, you might notice there's nothing securing it, holding it in place. Generally, I'll do a tight piece of tape around here and then adhese this part as well. This foam sits very snug on the bamboo. I've never had it slide before. I know some places require some sort of adhesion inside of it. I'm not too worried about it. Even with a good deal of force, I can't really get it to budge. It's not going anywhere. So again, if it makes you feel better, definitely go for it. But at least with this design, it's not explicitly required. All right, next step. This right here, the handle from the top to this point. Now, what I like to do is do a quick check, make sure I got that tip 100% where I need it to be. So what I'm going to do is measure from the top all the way back down. Here, we're sitting at just about 94.6 96.7, so it's just about on that 95 centimeter mark. With a cover, it should be pretty much exactly flush, so that's exactly where I want it to be. That came out beautifully. So what I'm going to do from here is, because the first handle is a 45 centimeter difference from the striking surface, what we're going to be doing here, oh, excuse me, not 45, it's 15. What we're going to be doing here is indicating using a marker where that first 15 is, and we'll put the next segment of foam. Now, pool noodle, I definitely don't recommend it. What I use it for, pretty much primarily, is the courtesy padding that exists between the two handles on a staff, because it's very seldom, if ever, are you going to make contact with somebody with this guy. But if you do, it'll work. Pool noodle will hold up for, you know, a little bit, which is all you really need it for a piece of pad that never makes contact. Now this right here, it's a little wide, easy peasy, you just tape that closed. Alright, now, I know this whole piece looks a little haphazard, and truth be told, it would definitely not hold up as a striking surface at all. However, even right here, the way it is now, you can't feel down to the core, even with the thinner parts of it. It does pretty okay. And like I said, this design, it's passed every safety inspection it's ever gone through. Definitely not the most rigid. However, for something like this with incidental contact, you've got plenty of good squish here, plenty of good room for error with safety. Should you make incidental contact on the field, that'll work just fine. Alright, now for the pommel. So what I like to do for these is keep them really thin, really fine, so that you can use the end as a grip. It doesn't like get in your way while you're trying to handle it, right? You want something that's kind of goes smooth and goes with the rest of the design of the Pompfen. Now, what you want to do is take this part right here, measure, let's see, how does this look? Right here comes 23, it should come to 25, so that gives you a bit of leeway there, 2 to 3 centimeters, a good little squish, which is all you're going to need for a non-striking surface. What I would typically do is measure the approximate length. In this case, I'll go 2.5 centimeters down this, and then you'll roll it until it's the same size as the ends of your pommel there. You'll see. Boom. So as you can see, you now get a squish that you can line up just perfectly with the end there, so it stays uniform, but still gives you some squish. I'm going to go a little bit extra, slight bit thicker than that, so when I squish it down, it'll compensate, it'll match up just fine. And to attach this sucker, all I do is throw it on there, just like you would do the stabbing tip. You take a little bit of tape, give yourself a good line up there, take this guy, set it right where you want it, and then tape over it, securing both sides nice and snug. It's not as important with this because it's just courtesy padding, and keep in mind that there are a good number of organizations in the Jugger community that don't require a pommel at all, so really this is just giving safety a little nod there, that's all. These right here just as well have been okayed in every tournament that this design has been to, so this is stuff like DM and in Dublin. This design was A-okay, as well as in everywhere in the United States. Alright, and there you have it. Now it doesn't look pretty, but technically you're done. If you wanted to take this into a game, you'd be ready to go. It would pass an inspection. It would be just as safe as anything else out there, but of course, this around, it's not the prettiest thing. Definitely looks a little strange, looks a little peculiar. Always recommend a cover. Always recommend doing something a little extra to make it look good. But lo and behold, there we are. So everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for being patient with me while I flimmed through this camera, trying to make this thing at awkward angles so I can show you what I'm doing here. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. Thanks.